We're going to start our logo project by opening up Rhino. Make sure we click Rhino 64, and we want to do small objects inches for our template. So that'll pull up this screen. We want to work in just the top viewport, so double click on that, and then we have just the top viewport here that we can use. Now if we want to drag it side to side, we can right click on the mouse and we can pull it around wherever we need to. First step is going to be to type in text object. You can see it auto-populates right here. We can click on that, and it brings up this screen. We're going to start with just our first letter, so we'll do a B for Banks Braves. We'll start with the B right there. We can go ahead and select our font. The nice thing about this, you can click on one, and then you can use the arrow key to click through it to find what you want. We can make it bold, we can make it italics, whatever we want. I'm going to do bold. We want to make sure that we have curves right here selected and group objects selected. We want our height to be between 2.5 and 3 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and set this to 2.5. Once that's good, go ahead and hit OK. And then it's going to give us this that we can place somewhere. For our second and or third letter, if we're doing 3, we can do the same thing. All I had to type was TE and it auto-populated text object. So we'll click on that and hit enter. I'm going to do BB for Banks Braves, so this is all set. I've got it bold, I have curves selected, group objects, it's already set to the appropriate height in inches, and click OK. I'm going to zoom in using the scroll wheel on the mouse, and I want to get these to overlap a little bit. I'm going to turn off grid snap so I have a little more freedom to move it, and we're going to go with something about like that. Okay. Now I need to put some sort of frame around it. I have a couple of options. I can do a circle, I can do an ellipse or an oval, or I can do a square or rectangle. I'm going to go ahead and do a square or rectangle, and I'm just going to make it a little bigger than it needs to be. Something about like that, but run these up close to, there we go. Run up close to or overlap our letters just a little bit. I need to move mine a little bit. Okay, let's turn OSnap off. We want a little bit of an overlap so that we can connect these so that when we go to cut it out on the plasma later, it'll work okay. So I've got that, a little bit of overlap here, a little bit of overlap here. I've got some space here so we can still see the B. I think that's going to work out okay. Then we're going to highlight the box or the circle that we just made, and we're going to type offset, O-F-F-S-E-T, hit enter. Now up here, well first we can see this little line that goes, and that's the side that it's going to offset to. But up here we can set the distance. We're going to set our distance to 1/2 inch, so we're going to go 0.5 inches, hit enter, and then make sure we're on the outside of the line, and we can hit enter. What that's done is given us a frame that when we cut it will become solid. Now there's some ways that we can modify this frame a little bit if we want to. We can come over here and we can fillet the curves where we make them rounded. Change this just so we can see. To do that, I set the radius to 0.25. Click on this side, then click on that side, and it makes the corners rounded. We can adjust that by adjusting the radius. Let's go 0.5 inch radius. We'll do that on the other side. Click there, and you can see we've added a radiused corner instead of having a sharp 90-degree corner. Not sure I like that, so I'll hit Control-Z to undo it. We can also do what's called a chamfer, where it's just going to be straight. So I'm going to show you what that is. I'm going to adjust my distance here to 0.5 and 0.5. And then we'll do the same thing. Click on one edge, click on the other edge, and it's going to automatically chamfer that. And hit enter to do that again. And there we go. And I'm going to go ahead and do all 4 corners that way. And I'm also going to do these 2 inside corners. Okay, not the 2 where the B's are, because if I do that, it puts a funny notch in the B's. So Control-Z to undo that. So I'm okay with how that looks right now. Next thing I need to do is do some trimming and joining. So I'm going to select everything by hitting Control A, and you can see everything highlighted. Then I'm going to type in trim and hit enter. Now what I want to trim is anywhere where these lines intersect. So I want to get rid of those so that that's going to be solid. We're going to go here in the middle, get rid of those, and then down here on the bottom we'll get rid of that as well. So now we're left with a B and a B. When we're done, hit enter. If it stays highlighted, you're good. If not, hit Control A, because now we need to join everything. Right now what we have is a series of unconnected lines. And what will happen, especially on the plasma cutter, is it'll want to cut these separately. So it'll want to cut this line, then it's going to want to cut this one, then it's going to want to cut this one, and we're going to end up with a bunch of pierce points where we don't need them. So we hit Control A and we type join. What that will do is ensure that our lines are joined so that it's all one right now. Okay, outside's one, inside there's one, we're all good. I'm going to hit Control A again, and I'm going to type group so that everything, when I click on it, is all in one. That way I can move it around and I can scale it without any issues. So what we want is for this to be less than 6 inches by 6 inches. I'm going to go ahead and measure right now to see where I'm at. And I'm at 5.5, so this would be good. But if I need to scale that, I would select that, type scale, click on the bottom right corner somewhere, then up on the bottom left, then click on the upper right, and then we can drag it up or we can drag it down to get to what we want. Each one of these boxes of 4 is 1 inch on my screen, so that's 6 inches right there. So we're good to go. We're in inches, we're within the parameters, we've joined everything. So now we're going to go up to File, Save As, and we're going to figure out where we want to save it, and we're going to give it a name. We're going to use our last name, so in my case Eggleston, /logo /vinyl, or sorry, dash, not slash. Okay, so Eggleston logo vinyl. It's important that we name our files appropriately so we can find them later on, and so we can distinguish one from the other. When that's done and we've saved it in the appropriate place, we hit save. And now we're ready to exit out of this and take our file over to the vinyl cutter.